Hi, folks. We're going to stop going to commercial break and come back to give you the very latest because we have a tornado warning from the National Weather Service. You'll see it situated in that same area that I was just talking about. Take a look at the red polygon. You can analyze where it is. Let me give you a chance to really set the stage as to where you are. Let me back it just a little bit here to show you that that's where the thunderstorms are. And let me get out of the way where the thunderstorms are going to from Georgetown and up to the northeast. It's moving very slowly, this storm, at about 25 miles an hour. So we're going to see this tornado warning now until 5:45. So we're going into continuous coverage to make sure we take care of the folks in Augusta, Georgetown, and Ripley. Again, to give you some perspective, here's where we are. You'll notice Cincinnati, so we're down to the southeast. This is where the warning is located, the red polygon that you see. So let's talk about a little of what's going on down here. You'll notice that the spike is showing that that's where the central part of the storm is, down just to about the Augusta area. So this is where this storm is located now. It's moving off to the northeast again at about 35 miles an hour. So everybody in Chatham, Augusta, Minerva, Dover, Ripley, Georgetown, Russellville, let's see who else is located in that area, Center Point, Stringtown. Now, you folks here don't even have any rain going on. Reed Oak down by Ripley, you're probably saying to yourself, what do you mean by this? Well, it's just out your back door, and it's going to be within about 8 minutes, according to our 9 first warning Doppler, that this is going to be showing and up by your area. There's a strong lightning field, as you notice. We've had 107 strikes so far in just the last 15 minutes across this region. Let me bring the map out a little bit, or out to kind of on a wider scale. It gives you a little bit better idea of how this storm is traveling and where it is, because next up, if it holds together, you folks in Winchester and out to the furthest points of this are going to be affected by this storm. Now that we've got kind of the lay of the land, how things are and where this storm is heading, you can see the field as well. I'll bring it back down so that we get in there nice and tight. And I want to take the lightning off here because it's a little difficult to see, I think, overall. So as we look at things out for the area, let me just point out where I think probably the center of this storm is. Right through here in the Augusta area, it appears that it'd be right by that area there. So we're talking about that storm that you need to be in your tornado safe location right at this very moment, because this area that we're looking at right in that Augusta region is where we believe the storm is. Now, let's travel underneath the storm. I need to get to our radar position here so I can take a look at what we call a storm relative velocity product. It appears that it's just to the south of Augusta. A lot of this wind field, and this is what's going on here, is located right in the Augusta area rather. And if we, let me just grab a pen here and we'll be able to get a sense of exactly how much in the way of winds that we're seeing here. So we're talking about 40-mile-an-hour gusts in that portion of the storm. It appears that the rotation that was around that area not showing quite as strong, and that's the good news at the moment. It appears that there's a lot of winds going just away from the radar, not toward and away, within the tornado warned area. So I would say it's better news than when we probably first started across this area that we are tornado warned. Now for an ETA for you. In fact, yeah, this is good news. See, our tornado index is down to 2.9. It was up at 4.4 when the warning was given. So this storm itself has lost a little of its properties. Not to say it won't reform, but this is better news as we sit right now. So it is expected to be in Augusta at 5:27. Where are we now? So it's essentially over Augusta area, and then you'll notice Georgetown at 5:38, and if it holds together, Russellville at 5:45. We're seeing hail with this storm at 100% across this region as well. And I mentioned, of course, the lightning that's involved. I've taken that off so that you can see it a little bit better. So this is a tornado warned area. This warning is out till 5:45. If you're hearing sirens, and it usually takes a few minutes for folks to maybe come to the television, let me just repeat that this is out for the area that you see in red red in the polygon out for that time period as we have an active tornado warning from the National Weather Service. Now, if things don't progress by this, I would expect maybe this warning to be lifted before then, because what I'm seeing at the moment is a lot of very strong winds with this storm, but not necessarily those dangerous twisting winds. This area that we're looking at here has produced a lot of rain, as I've mentioned, but we're not necessarily seeing the other properties that we would look for. This is our shear property, and this is what I'm talking about now. You'll notice by the legend behind me, over here behind my shoulder, there is a little bit of very strong shear. You'll see the red that's located in there in the Stony Point. Now, what I don't like to see is this kind of bending, because if this gets a little bit of an S-curve, it's an indicator that there's a better chance there might be a tornado in that area. But at present, taking a look at all of the parameters that we have, let me Okay, folks, we had a little technical glitch there, as you well know. Thank you for standing by. I'm going to reset for you so that you can see what's going on. We have a number of different items that are going on across the tri-state right now, and most importantly is this tornado warning that's out until 5:45. We also have another warning that's out by Maysville for a severe thunderstorm warning here out until 6 o'clock. We're in continuous coverage because of what's going on across this area from Augusta showing out to Georgetown, and that area that we were just discussing. The good news here and what we're seeing is not as threatening as it was when the warning was introduced. Across the region, we're seeing some strong winds here across, well, there's some in Ripley right now. Let me grab my little indicator pen here, and I'll show you what's happening as we look by. It's about 44 miles an hour. So that's some much better news. Now, I don't like seeing this empty area here. That is what we call gray ghost, meaning that the radar is bouncing back and forth. We do have some winds that are moving away from the radar, and they're bounded by a lot of winds that are going towards. So that gives it that twist, that shear in the atmosphere. As I was showing you, we were talking about the potential for shear, and now we're seeing a little bit more showing up in and around the Center Point area. So this very well will likely be right by Reeds, down by Stony Point, and then stretching up, in fact, out by Russellville. This will be the area that we're talking about that might very well be holding the strongest point of the storm. These shear markers here, these are the ones that give us ETA. At present, as we look at it, hold on a second, let me put the radar back on here. You'll notice that, of course, that, move this for us. Stretch that out of the way. Hold on. There we go. Now, in and around Augusta, this is where the center point is said to be, but that doesn't mean that's necessarily the center of the storm where the rotational winds are happening. Let's get you a little update now on the ETA again as to what's happening. Basically, in Higgins Port, we're talking about right at the moment getting this storm, then Georgetown at 5:39 through Winchester at 5:58. I point your attention to the tornado index again. 2.9, so it has grown in a little bit of intensity across the area. I say that because our tornado index has never been wrong. It is usually out in front of any radar service, and it's been shown to be exactly on point when we get to about a 7 on that scale of something touching down. So we're far from that, and that's good news. Checking again within the storm itself, I'm waiting for a little update. We're seeing right now this area here stretching from about Center Point up to the north, some of that green red together, and likely this is exactly where we're talking about. You folks across that region need to be in your tornado safe spot, because we are under an active tornado warning now for about the next 14 minutes. So that's why we're in continuous coverage. Now, let me just again check on in the shear product here. When we see red, we get concerned. It doesn't have to be red. It's also sometimes the component of how this shear is located. And at present, yes, there is a very strong and dangerous storm across here, but I would doubt there is anything on the ground at all. It's not to say, in fact, you'll notice the Weather Service just cut that tornado warning down. So now it only is located for areas across the river. So let's just update you as to where we stand. A couple other notes. You'll see here we also have a new severe thunderstorm warning that's also out until 5:45. Down here, of course, this is going to be the severe thunderstorm warning until 6 o'clock. So all of this region, while you don't have a tornado warning from Brooksville, Maysville up to West Union, you're all under a severe thunderstorm warning. So let me show you the actual radar again, and you'll see the intensity of some of the rain. Keep in mind, that's what this shows. And as, let me pull it out a little bit, bring it over here. We have a solid line showing right through Georgetown, down through Maysville, and this line continues to press off to the east. This area that you see flashing, that of course is our tornado warning, but these storms down here very well could have wind gusts to 60 miles an hour. Now, so far, we haven't seen a lot of hail with this product or storm. There's a little bit showing back behind the main storm that is tornado warned. You'll see it here and here stretching back to the southwest, but that hasn't been a main issue for us. As for rainfall itself, let me show you what we're talking about here. Just in the last 3 hours across the region, it has been very heavy back to where the storm has come from. We were noting 3 and 4 inches of rain during the show, during our newscasts just a few moments ago. As we head back into our radar here, the situation is such that I think the Weather Service will let this expire here coming up in about the next 12 minutes. Now, we always just take the precaution, obviously, anyone from Georgetown up to Winchester to Ripley, to stay in your tornado-safe location. But I will call off the dogs for you folks down in Augusta and other spots that might be there, out by Brooksville, and then down into Maysville. That's another story because you still have a severe thunderstorm warning. So again, this is the tornado warned area, if you're just joining us, stretching from Ripley, Georgetown, Russellville, and any points in between for about the next 10 to 12 minutes. We are seeing, and what I don't like, there's probably some very strong outflow here. See this kind of curvature of the rain that's showing up there? That is probably pushing out some very strong winds. There's no question there are probably wind gusts to 60 miles an hour there. Up by Russellville, do you see, let me grab a pen here. Do you see this notch that's in here? Right there, that's the inflow of what's going on with this storm. That's where that likely rotation is going on in the atmosphere. We're not seeing as much rotation at the surface. We were seeing it earlier. In fact, we had, as I said, put out a couple of tweets on X about this particular storm for most of the afternoon as it began to form. So the rain is going to continue and the heavy winds as well. The interesting part, just for the record, is you'll notice the National Weather Service, and I don't see this very often, is they've gone ahead and you'll notice there is a boundary here stretching of a severe thunderstorm warning on the backside of this tornado warning. No matter how this stretches, stay in your tornado safe location because we are talking about some really strong and severe winds. Back under the storm shows us that, well, it looks like, let's see here, this is mostly where the rotation is. It's approaching Redoke. Let me see what else. By Russellville, because it's moving off here to about the east-northeast, moving out of the center point area, just stretching down to about Stringtown. This is where a lot of the rotation is going on in and around that area. If I was to street map it for you, it's always tough to kind of read these things. Ripley Rhythm. And then as we look down here, bring this up just to give you a little sense of what we're talking about here, out by Township Highway to, what is that, 34? So that is the area that is probably the rotation within the storm itself based on what we're seeing here. And yeah, that matches up pretty good. You'll see this is storm relative velocity. In other words, it shows us where the winds are going within the storm as it moves. And now we're seeing, you saw a little green there, now back into more reddish shade, but still in that same area. So there's a very weak rotation within this region here. There we go. There we go. Now you can see it. So from Redoke back towards Center Point, you'll see the brighter areas that are up there across that red shaded area. That will be, let me see what is going on here. I'm hearing a little activity on my audio here. Let me check one thing here. I want to bring it back to the radar here in a minute and show you that, yep, and there it goes. I think they're cutting down the tornado warning again. Let's see if that's the case. Okay, they've got it stretching pretty much into the same area. Here we go, right? Is that area that I was showing you? That is the most dangerous part of this storm right now, but still a lot of this storm is showing to be a very strong storm with winds to 60 miles an hour. So it is stretching from Georgetown all the way down to about Flemingsburg. I see why. They've added down through that area for a severe thunderstorm warning. So as we look at the storm itself, down in within it as well, there's a torrential amount of rain, and just to show you too, there's a lot of lightning across that area. In fact, let me get the counter on. We'll get a sense of what we're talking about. 145 strikes in the panel that you're seeing here. That's within 15 minutes all across that region. So it is really popping. Wouldn't surprise me if there's some power issues now across that area, because when you have this kind of lightning field, you're talking about power generally going out. So that's something, if you've got friends or relatives down there and you want to check on them, just think about that. That is important. And we're going to see this continue to move off to the northeast, and we're seeing this storm moving out. Let's get a little update on what's going on here. And let me get this back on. Get a little update, show you where we are with ETA. Okay, so the storm itself continues to move off to the northeast. It's kind of a mess over here. Hold on a second. Let me move this stuff. That'll show better for Russellville. Russellville at 549, and you'll see it's moving east-northeast at about 29 miles an hour. About a 50-50 shot of seeing some hail right now from this particular storm. We're not getting that as one of the potential damaging properties. There's probably some hail out of this storm just because of the magnitude of it, but at present, we're not seeing this as a major thing for us to be worried about. Get that off of there. So as we look at this, you'll notice right at the moment, let me play this here for you across the area over about the last 15 minutes, and you'll see how it's been progressing in that region, moving from the east off to the northeast. One of the things to see is it looks like this little bowing out here is starting to grow stronger. It's why the Weather Service put out a severe thunderstorm warning to the south. So you folks in West Union down through Manchester up to Winchester, don't sleep on the storm just because technically you're not in the tornado warned area. This is still a very strong storm that's showing across the region, and so as a result, we're going to again see properties with this that could be an issue for us. Now, as we look underneath the storm, you'll see right at the moment there's that little green shaded area. I just looked over my shoulder, and meteorologist Cam Harden in right there for us as well, and he's kind of tagging some things. You'll see over the last 15 minutes how not only have we seen this tornado warning, but we also have this severe thunderstorm warnings that have popped off as well. Now, those go all the way to 6 o'clock. So just because this storm is theoretically, this warning is going to be until about 5:45, that doesn't mean this storm is done. Looking under the storm, this is the shear product, and it has grown a little bit, and we're starting to see a little uncomfortableness. Is when we get this kind of S look or this kind of snake kind of look, it's not a good thing. It means the shear is growing within the storm itself. We haven't seen this go anything more than weak to butting up to strong in the last few minutes, but you'll notice the line here. This is what's happened and why this caused a tornado warning. See all the red that's there? There was some very strong shear. Shear would be, as I often use in these kind of situations, putting a pen between your hands and rubbing it back and forth. And you get that twist on the pen. That's what that is. It's winds going away and toward the radar, and it creates that rotation within the atmosphere. Here's the rain itself, and you'll see the heaviest rain showing up really right in that area, and then this big wall that's setting up here. That's a lot of outflow there, and you folks heading into the West Union area and much of Adams County. So this is going to contain winds with 60-mile-an-hour gusts, if not even occasionally stronger. That heavy rain, in fact, Cam is now just putting on the latest. Here it is as you look at it, you folks in West Union, about 5:51 for this edge to hit to you. So what are we talking about here? Less than 10 minutes. For you folks in Winchester, 5:48. So this line will be on top of you, and that will obviously counter. Yes.
Hey, the Brown County Parade has been canceled because of inclement weather, so it's for the fair. That has just been canceled. Okay, good update. Thank you, Tanya. A good choice, obviously, because of what's going on. So an update for you folks, yeah, that probably has caused a lot of issues. Can you imagine folks who are lining up in the last couple of hours to go for the parade, and then this happens? So hopefully everybody is sheltered and safe, because we are under an active tornado warning here. And you'll notice Cam has put on this circulation here. And it's a weak circulation, quite frankly. We haven't seen a strong circulation since just ahead of when the tornado warning was out. You remember we were on the air, if you were with us, and we saw what we call a canister, and what I call a canister, that's our vernacular. That was indicating stronger shear. And in fact, the 9 first warning Doppler showed that there was likely some rotation in that storm. And then lo and behold, the warning comes out. So it was ahead of the curve as usual. So we're waiting for this here, the tornado warning, to be released from the Weather Service. It'll happen in 2 minutes, and then we'll go back to the desk for the update on our newscast. But we're holding in here just to make sure that we don't see any further development in this storm, because right now the good news is while we have an active tornado warning, we haven't had any confirmation. We have only seen some potentially some twisting winds very early on in the process, but right now I can't imagine anything along those lines. And in fact, Cam has just put up the latest ETA. We're now seeing not even really a good chance for any hail. We do see the low base storms. You'll see there's some very high returns at only 8,000 feet. What that means is that storm is really close to the ground. We're only talking 8,000 feet off the surface, and that indicates that that base of the storm is very low, and that's what causes issues. Well, we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning here. This is out until 6 o'clock for Adams County. So they're not going to continue the tornado warning, obviously, because it butts up against that area, pretty much following our thinking, which is the fact that this storm is no longer really a tornadic type of storm without any strong rotation or even smaller rotation kind of in the storm itself. So all of this area that you see here, all across there in Adams County, down into Mason County by Maysville, this is all a severe thunderstorm warning until 6 o'clock. You're going to have winds that could be damaging winds to 60 miles an hour. So don't take this storm lightly. The good news is it does not look tornadic at this point, but keep in mind, and there you go, we're done at 5:45. So we're going to return it over to the news desk and let them, okay, I'm told we're going to go to commercial break first. We're back with more WCPO 9 News after this. Hi, folks. Chief Meteorologist Steve Raleigh here again, because we have a new tornado warning that you'll see situated there in Adams and also in Highland County. While the other warning has pushed off out of the area, another section of that storm is now creating a tornado warning until 6:30. So we're going to be on for continuous coverage until we see this tornado warning out of the area. Right now, what's concerning is you'll see this spot that's there right at the moment. Cam's kind of running a little loop here to show you how this is developed. Look how these winds come together, and this is why the warning was issued. There's winds, if you look at the legend, going toward the radar and away, and then all of a sudden they get exceedingly close, and that's what creates that rotation in the atmosphere, and that's what's going on. So let's give a little idea of who lives out there, Cam, across that area as tight as we can.
across the region. It looks like it's Fairfax and Folsom and Emerald and Belfast and Jessup and Loudoun up through Elmville and Marshall. All of you folks are now should be in your tornado safe location, and you should stay there until we give you kind of the all clear. The storm itself is pushing across that region. Cam has got me an ETA, and you'll notice the Fairfax area by 6:03. So we're looking at just 7 minutes from now, and then stretching down to Loudoun at 6:23. Don't let this fool you. This is Louisville, Ohio, and you'll see the rest of the numbers too across the region. So the last one, North Uniontown at 6:23. So the assumption is this storm that's now pushed right over the Fairfax area is going to head out there. Now, this particular storm looks like it might be a bit stronger. It's also moving faster, moving northeast at about 33. It also shows some hail properties. And as we look at it, this region is showing us that, yeah, there's a better chance that we're getting those dangerous twisting winds right over Fairfax. You folks need to be in your tornado safe location. Now, the shear itself is also unfortunately coming together here at the moment. While it is on the weak to pushing to strong side, especially in that Fairfax area, we're also seeing, and I mentioned this earlier, this kind of twist that's happening within the shear itself. We don't want to see this kind of S-curve continue to develop, because that's a problem. That means there's a higher probability that there might be something on the ground. So we have now checked both that. We show you the rain. What about the lightning aspect? If you want to turn that on, Cam, and we'll show you right at the moment. And as if we watch it for a minute or two, give us a count or two, if you would, Cam. If we watch this, you'll notice that the lightning will continue to pop over that same region. It appears if right there in and around, pull in nice, a little bit tighter there, Cam, thank you. And as we look at it, maybe so we could see Fairfax, because it looks like that might be right. Yeah, there we go. The reason I said that is I wanted to see if that little notching, this inflow here, was in the Fairfax area, and it is. So it gives us another clue to say this is likely exactly, and if you look at it, see how this is where that notch was? It's right here. In fact, do a little kind of rotation here. It's 45 to 16. That's good. We're not seeing as strong winds. We start seeing equally strong winds going in the same direction, there's a better chance that we're going to start to see this potential tornado. This is a tornado warning. Nothing has been seen. It is the fact that we have the kind of setup in a severe thunderstorm that could produce a tornado instantly. At present, you'll notice that there, that's an indicator of some potential hail in those areas. So that's part of this as well. Now, you'll notice at the point that we're looking at it, this is a kind of more in-depth product about where the hail is located. We're not seeing that as much, so there might be much smaller hail involved. You'll see at the moment we are getting some stronger shear within this storm as well. And that's interesting. It looks like what has happened, quite frankly, is the storm that was tornado warned then spawned another storm, and then that became stronger, and that's what's giving us our tornado warning until 6 o'clock. Let's get another ETA up there, Cam, and give folks an idea of the storm itself. The edge of the storm now well within the boundary, moving off at about that 33 to 35 mile an hour range. Here's a good look at all of the locations around there and the timing. So we're looking at anywhere from Jessup essentially right now. And welcome to WCPO 9 News here at 6 o'clock. If you're just dialing in, we're under an active tornado warning. Our second of the day. This one concerns Adams and Highland County. We were just updating the folks on an ETA. You'll notice that this stretches down by Loudoun as well as Lincolnville, and then down to New Fane till 6:27, because this is going to be out, this warning, until 6:30 itself. At present, we're not looking at overly concerning parameters of a tornado warning. This is definitely showing some rotational properties, but given what we're seeing, it's a rather broad-based rotation, and that's good. I mentioned just a few seconds ago about the fact that when we start to see winds going in opposite directions at a much higher rate, that gives us that better spin rate, so to speak, so we get a tighter formed cone as well. Cam has brought up our exclusive look at our tornado index is at 2.4. So we'll watch that to see if it grows or falls back. Likely it'll stay within that area, certainly on the short run, but it is something we watch because, as I mentioned, oh gosh, I guess about a half hour ago with the other tornado warning, once that reaches up to about 7 or so, we unfortunately call for a likely tornado on the ground. Now, we've got some gray ghosts going in the middle of here, so likely this is meeting up. Now, why do I call it gray ghost? Well, obviously the color, and it ghosts us because it's radar returns that are hitting as they're going out and coming back. So they end up canceling each other out. So the radar, the computer, then says we can't determine if it's winds away or going toward. But in this particular scenario, most likely because we're seeing this inflow notch, there's a likelihood that there's probably what we call gate-to-gate shear, and that means those winds are right next to each other in a kind of broad sense across the area. Cam has tagged a few of them, and you'll notice how we're at 36 and 21. So a few moments ago, you saw a lot of winds at about 40 going away and going toward, what was it, 16, I think was the number. So now we're starting to see a little bit more defined, stronger winds starting to get a little bit closer. That's not necessarily a good sign for us. As we look at these storms itself, let's give a little, here's the broader view. This is where we're talking about. We have an active tornado warning here. There's one out of our area. Just a little heads up to our friends that are in Adams County. Stay out of Lewis County for right now. You just stay hunkered down because you're also under a severe thunderstorm warning yourself. There's a pretty good lineup here, and that likely is producing gusts to 60 miles an hour. That's the threshold to be under a severe thunderstorm warning. And that encompasses, am I right here, Kim? I think it is. Gosh, that's a big, broad area, severe thunderstorm warning. That's all warning, right? I'm not... Yeah, that whole thing is showing up. So that is all a severe thunderstorm warning. This area that we're focusing on is a tornado warning. But as I say, we're not seeing the parameters that would tell us necessarily that this is a really, really strong situation in the way of a storm. The storm itself continues to press off to the northeast, and I think we probably should give a little update, Cam, as to where we stand with the center of the storm and the storm itself for everybody within that polygon, that red polygon. So there's Marshall for you. As we look at it, the center of the storm, okay, right in and around the Belfast area. So that's where we're talking about likely the center of the storm. Now, that doesn't mean if you live up here north of Belfast or you live in Jessup or Loudon, that doesn't mean you're not feeling the effects of the storm, because it is a very broad-based storm and winds are going to be very strong in a wider location. But the center of this storm is where those dangerous twisting winds happen, and that's what takes down the trees, the telephone poles, the da-da-da-da-da, if indeed that's going on. Because at present, we're not really looking at extremely strong winds, but it is something that's concerning and certainly warrants a tornado warning. Got a couple of words, Cam?
Yeah, I was just going to say that what I circled is State Road 73. So a lot of these towns, maybe their towns are just markers, when you get zoomed in this far. So if you live in or around State Road 73, those tightest winds, those tightest rotation winds are going to be going right over you as a good mile marker for you.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. As we look at things, I just want to tell everybody again, you folks all the way at Marshall, Sinking Springs, everywhere else across that region, stay in your tornado safe location. Now, I would say, push the map over a little bit for me, Cam. Thank you. Out by Maurystown, you guys are good to go. You folks in Winchester, you're okay. New Market, you're okay, but you got a lot of thunderstorms around. But if you're in your tornado safe location or felt uncomfortable because of the storms, that's something that you're probably okay with. Yeah, Cam's pointing this out because he sees what becomes obvious is we're seeing some pretty good rotation in that area, at least in a shear standpoint up around the Belfast spot. Now moving out of Fairfax to Belfast. Generally, storms, just something to stick in the back of your mind, move southwest to northeast. Not always, but generally that's the way it works with tornadoes. Not always, but generally. So, in other words, you'll see the spike that's back here. We call it a shear skid. It gives us an indication of where these storms are moving, and we're seeing enhanced shear out here by Belfast. Hopefully, that's not going to continue because that's going to show us that this particular storm could really, be problematic. Wow. Now it's an okay. Go ahead, Cam.
Yeah, a portion of Adams County, and just further off, if you're in Scioto, until 6:30. So the same time frame. That one that was all the way down here into Lewis County has since been extended northeast. It has that weird polygon because.
That is an odd polygon for sure. I think what happened was, quite honestly, is it took a little bit of a northerly turn that wasn't expected.
Very similar to ours up here.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so folks it's a highly rural area, Adams County down by there. But for folks who are thinking about traveling out of Adams County down to Vanceburg, that's a bad idea because you're talking about this corner right here that you'd have to get down to Vanceburg, and that's right now under a tornado warning. So for our friends out there in Adams County, stay put for now, especially across anywhere from Squirreltown. It always comes up. It's one of the few small little towns in that area. Okay, so back up here, let's talk about this and give you the recap of where we stand. You'll notice it looks like it's been shaved down a little bit. Is that right, Cam? Does it look
they cut off the back end.
Yeah, they did. Okay, so that's what I was talking about down from New Market, and this storm continues to move off to the northeast. Let's do a little SRV here, Cam. Sorry to talk jargon, folks, but I want to see what's going on with the storm itself, because once again, while the storm showed those dangerous properties, and it still shows some very dangerous, looks like it might be some twisting winds that are happening very close to each other. Can you read those streets, Cam, that are in and around that area?
Still State Road 73, pretty much just to the east of State Road 73, and then County Highway 21, Butler Road, Harriet Road, Township Highway 198. Those are your kind of ones right in the path.
Okay, North Uniontown, Turkey, Lincolnville, Elmville, the most powerful part of this storm is heading for you in the next few minutes, and I mean like in the next 2, 3, 4 minutes. This is going to continue to move off to the northeast, so you need to stay in your tornado-safe location. While I'm not sure that you're seeing any lightning right now, because it doesn't look like it from what we're seeing at the moment. What's the actual radar look like, Cam? And it might be, that's what I was thinking, is that it's just some moderate rain across that region. Please don't do what we see so many times. Folks stand outside on their porch, outside, and go, well, I don't see anything. We have seen too many folks do that over the lifetime of something like this and then can't scramble to get to a safe location. So go to your tornado safe location now, even though you've just got some moderate rain. Look at Marshall up there in just the green right at the moment, even though this very powerful storm is about to head right through that area just to about the south or so. All right, so some stronger shear now to the south of the storm, too, you'll see is showing up, and that doesn't help us out at all. This is starting to take the structure that we do not like to see. Do we have any new skits in that area,
No,
Cam?
just that old one that still hasn't been updated. So.
Okay, all right. Well, we will get an update here shortly from our computer that shows it. And the reason why I say that is this is exactly the kind of scenario we don't want to see. When we start to get that, we know that there's a good roll in the atmosphere right at the moment at present. And so when we get a skit update, and we're seeing this notching really develop now in and around down to that region right there. You'll see how it's almost the green is kind of like advancing this way. The red's advancing somewhat this way. It shows a fairly strong location across that area. It'll be interesting to see if our 9 first warning Doppler doesn't paint this soon. We're not seeing strong, particularly strong winds at the moment, but if those start picking up, we're going to start to see, these are called skits again. We could very well see what we call an orange skit, and it's going to mean that the computer now says, this is where the shear is happening. This is where that roll in the atmosphere is going on. Pay attention to that because, yeah, oh boy.
Just got our new update with those scans, and that's going to be even a little gustier out there.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's the first time we've been above 60 combined.
How about here, down here? Okay, about the same, yeah. Okay, so we're seeing winds that could very well be at about 60 miles an hour that are rotating in that area, and it might be very low base too. So there's a broad circulation across there because you can see this brighter area that part of these. So we're talking about an area like this, and as I mentioned before, as it shrinks and it grows stronger with winds by Loudon, by Louisville, Ohio, Elmville, out by Belfast. This is this area where the strongest part of the storm is located and where damage will to some degree likely happen, because regardless of those dangerous twisting winds, we still have very strong winds. We're now seeing the shear that's pretty strong across the area with some areas by Elmville and Loudon you'll see that are in red, indicating again that we're getting that strong rotation in the atmosphere. So this storm is still very powerful. Now Lincolnville, Sinking Spring, out even by Smoky Corner. If you guys are all watching us out there, now make sure, because this storm is heading for you across there. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's take a look at the debris tracker. Don't see anything as of yet. Do you see anything, Cam?
I'm going to put a lapse on it and see if anything may have popped.
Showed up?
Something maybe.
Don't see anything.
No. Which is good news.
Yeah, that is great. That is really good. It means we're not, this is a product that what it does is it shows us any debris that's been kicked up at the surface. And we look for specific colors on that mapping. So when we see that coloration, we go, oh, what's that there? That means there must have been some surface disturbance, and that gets kicked up and gets picked up by the radar. And so when we see that, we call it correlation coefficient. I haven't used the term in a while, but debris tracker is simply put that gives us an indicator some winds have touched the ground, and then we're not seeing that. So that's a really good point. Down here, we'll give you a little update for our friends in Adams County because, as we said, look out, look there.
Take off that lightning just so we can see a little better. But yeah, that's a lot of lightning.
There's, I would imagine Vanceburg, there's some power outages across that area. You'll notice the broader area of green and red across this spot here by Buena Vista. And it looks like, too, there might be some brighter green in there, maybe. No, I guess not. Not as much, just about the same or so. The good news is we're not seeing those defining indicators that say, yes, there might be something going on right here. And at present, when we look at the shear rate, and this is a very important product to determine whether or not we're getting those dangerous twisting winds, we're not seeing that. So while this is a potentially dangerous situation and could happen in a flash, we're not getting anything right now on the ground that would lead us to believe that something is on the ground at present. You'll notice the National Weather Service has extended the tornado warning, and you can see why from everything we've been talking about. It's a situation that is right at that fence sitting, right on the borderline. It's why you call a tornado warning. I applaud the Weather Service for not holding back, because the reality is you want to forecast on the side of least regret. And right now, that's the best way to go, because it does look like this storm continues to carry a lot of potential. We're not seeing anything specific to say, uh-oh, got something on the ground, but we are seeing what at any moment could turn into something that, yes, produces some kind of tornado on the ground. This gap that just goes gray ghost within this red, this area right here is the area most concerning to me, because there's no question, just seeing 40 years of radar, that this is probably gate-to-gate shear that just can't be picked up by the radar at present. Doesn't matter, we have the most powerful radar in the tri-state, and we do, by the way. It happens on any radar. And so as a result, that's where the experience of watching radar for so much time, whether it's Cam or myself, that we know that this region here, and that's why Cam went back to it to show you, we're now seeing 70 miles an hour as a rotational area. Thoughts, Cam, anything?
I mean, it's obviously continuing to ebb and flow, but pick up in the last 10, 15 minutes. And like you mentioned, that's why they extended that tornado warning. It's extremely interesting, the northerly turn that it took, which I feel like is adding to some of that rotation. And we call it an inflow now, just kind of sucking in some of that drier air. And I feel like that's why we're getting that really tight rotation now up to 70 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is that.
Even down here, we're getting a little bit rotation where there's tornado
good
warning.
Spot. Yeah, good spot outside of that area. Yeah, there. Look at this, and this is what we talked about, right? We call it these little blocks are called gates, and so we call it gate-to-gate shear. So we've got some pretty strong gate-to-gate shear going on, meaning from right about here, wherever that is, stretching back toward. What is that? What does that say? Weasel Run?
I'm trying to find Jones
Corner. Okay, yeah. There's Jones Corner. So right in this area by Jones Corner, there's some real weak rotation going on in that area. And so what we're looking for are these little clues to make sure we put them all together. And once they get all put together, we then can make an assessment. There's some shear going on there. Go back to the radar a second, Cam. Yeah, look at the notch right here by Jones Corner. See how that's starting to form here. And we'll see if that continues to move in and across that area. Good pickup, Cam. So a lot of lightning, storms. We're under a tornado warning for the edge of Adams County. Still under a tornado warning for our friends that are up by Highland and northern Adams County. In fact, if we can do an ETA as to where we stand, maybe we do a little fan or something. That's a little jargon again, folks, but what that means is we draw out this fan, so to speak, that we use. And what it does is it gives us an idea of the ETA times within that fan, which, of course, will mimic where this tornado is going. So at the present time, we're looking at down through about, where's the edge of the county in there? There's so much on the map.
Where it jogs, right?
Right there?
Yeah, so it's almost out of our area, which obviously is good for us, not so much for the storm.
Not for friends over there. So if you've got friends and family, you live in Highland or Adams County, and they live just to the east of you in Idaho, Elm Grove, you've got to let them know. Give them a quick phone call. Probably brought your phone to your tornado safe place, I'm sure, because this tornado warning is going to be out until 6:45, I think I saw. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's why you'll see that ETA and that fan that we did for moving out that way. So this entire line, by the way, just for the record, for all of our friends who live in Adams County too, and outside in a small portion of Highland County, you're still under a severe thunderstorm warning. We're still seeing winds. It could be gusting to 60 miles an hour, but it's not as threatening, of course, as the areas that are tornado warned, where we're starting to see 60 and 70 mile an hour winds that are rotational, that could cause that really severe damage for property and potentially life. So as we look at things right now, the good news is we stand pretty well across the area. We're waiting for a little up. Let's see here. We're getting at 18. This is till 6:30, Cam?
Yeah, 6:30. For when the original one ended, they continue to slice off the back end of it, though, as it continues to move.
Yeah, that's a good point. Why don't we give some folks a little all call here that you're okay and talk about that. See, they're outside of this line of storms. Okay, Belfast, Jessup, Fairfax, if you're listening or have been watching, you're okay now. You're on the other side of the storm. It's still probably raining pretty heavy around Belfast right now, but Fairfax, you're in more moderate rain, and you're okay to come out of your tornado safe location. Know that, though, there are some thunderstorms around. You're still technically in a thunderstorm warning, but here's the back edge of the storm. So, and the center of that storm in and around, well, it would be probably located right in that area now by Elmville, I'm guessing. Cam, if we can take a look at the SRV and kind of get a sense of where that is at the moment. Oh, it's stretched. It's already jumped up to by Lincolnville. That's wow. Okay. So this has moved quickly to the northeast. Am I wrong here? Yeah, it moved pretty quick, didn't it?
Yeah, almost completely out of Highland County, almost pretty much into Pike County now.
Okay, where's, yeah, back it up a little bit just so I can see and everybody can see where that edge, where's the county now?
So here's
Good Lord. Is the actual warning on the county?
We're still in Highland County here. This right here is Pike County.
Okay.
The border from Highland to Pike.
Okay, very good. So this storm is what appears to be almost out of the area. That's not to say there's not a lot of potentially damaging winds stretching down through the middle of Highland County all the way down to Adams, almost to Peebles. Because keep in mind, there's a line of storms, but what we're focused on is that area that could produce a tornado at just about any time. Now, you folks in Lincolnville, Sinking Spring, and any place around that area, now's your time to, oh gosh, here we go. I got to say it. Hunker down and stay in your basement or anywhere else. Yeah, that's a good point, Cam. We're talking about only a mile-wide rotation. That's not much. Most tornado circulations are a half a mile to a mile for us, these F0 and sometimes 1s that we have. So this whole spot here is where some of that real dangerous winds are located. So please stay in your tornado safe location right now if you're in those locations, because that's where the main part of this storm is. This
one's out of our area now.
Yeah, that one's out there. What about that other little area that's up here, Cam? Where is that right now? Is that out? That's just about out of Adams
this one
County.
right here?
Yeah, it's just right on the county line, I guess.
So that's now out of Highland County or Adams County as well.
Yeah, so that's
at this point,
Scioto?
Scioto,
Yeah,
sorry.
Scioto, yeah. Okay, so let's back it out a little bit, Cam. Give me just the radar if you can. Okay, so what we're waiting on here is for this area that we were talking about where the dangerous storm winds are, and we're waiting in 9 minutes, and the Weather Service will end up releasing our area from a tornado warning. I would say at this point, we already made it very clear around the Lincolnville area that you need to stay in your tornado safe location. But this whole region, and once this stretches down through parts of Adams County, we're still talking about severe thunderstorms, all pushing off to the east. And then you'll notice down through approaching Portsmouth. If you've got friends or family there, you live in West Union, you live in Peebles, or maybe up through, I don't know, Hillsborough even, just give them a ring, maybe Georgetown, any place in Brown County too. Let them know that this very dangerous storm is heading for them. In fact, you'll notice the warning. Did that just pop, or did that move over?
They canceled it for our area, so officially done in Adams County.
Okay, they pulled it out of Adams County. That's what I thought. Okay, so they did update it. So moments from now, we're going to take you through coverage here until we get to David Muir and News Tonight, because we're going to be still under this tornado warning. I will say this, Cam, let's do this. Let's pull out the map a little bit and give everybody else around the tri-state. I think we've got a moment to do this. At present, we're still waiting on that area to see what develops, but you'll see what's going on the big picture. Across the tri-state, a good half of the tri-state now dry. Portions of the area, Warren County down through Claremont County, only talking about a few showers, mostly leaning eastward toward the east of the county line. That continues by Clinton and Brown County. Into northern Kentucky, you'll see what's gone on. We're talking about only showers over by Bracken County. Now, we will likely see a few more isolated showers tonight, but the next big thing is going to be for the morning and some fog. As we head through the day tomorrow, we'll get a few isolated showers. Here's a good example of what's happened in the last few hours. Yeah, we're talking about 2 to maybe 3 inches of rain across the region. So we've had some real issues in some county roads, I'm sure, with water over the roadway in parts of Grant, also in Pendleton County. You'll see some of that heavy rain. We're in store for more heavy rain coming up this week on Wednesday. And in fact, we have a marginal risk of severe weather showing up on Wednesday as well. As we look at things, we're still keeping an eye on this region here. And go ahead, let's give them another last update here. Guys, let me know when we're heading toward the outbreak, because we're really on the way out of here, with the exception to say you folks who are in and around Spellman Crossing and Newfane and Kincaid Springs. You have got a couple of areas. You see the other area down there too, just to the south?
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll notice this as well, showing a little bit of that across there. But this region is now moving out of our area. Where's the county border there?
We're that lightning strike is right here.
Right across that that region. Cam, if you get a second, if you can pop up the 7-day, I'll give a brief update because we've got 90 seconds left before we head to our good friend there, David Muir. So for tomorrow, here's your forecast. On Tuesday, we're looking at a chance for a few showers showing up in 79. Then Wednesday and Thursday, we really are looking at some rain, especially Wednesday. Could be heavy at times Wednesday, and also some thunderstorms. As we head to Thursday, we'll see more scattered rain showing up generally. This is not to say you couldn't see some peaks of sun, but generally we're leaning toward wet weather. Then a very slight chance in the morning showing up on Friday. Once we get to Friday afternoon, it's going to start drying out around here. And heading into this next weekend, we're going to end up seeing some much nicer weather for Saturday and Sunday in the forecast. So this is working beautifully for us because Thursday we'll get an update from the folks who put out the drought monitor, and we get a sense of where we stand because we've been in a moderate drought. And then we get into some drier weather. All right, so there's your update. Cam, maybe one last look at the radar. We'll send it to the anchors to say goodnight and send it off to David Muir. This storm is pretty much out of the area. Is that what I'm seeing, Cam? You have a better look at it.
All rotations completely out of the tri-state for our counties, which is good. Okay,
so let's send it back over to Tanya and Adrian to end up our WCPO 9 News.